What's happening, people? It's another episode of The Giants Guys. We're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube. Back in the lab with, of course, Michael Stewart, The Truth. I got Zane Payne. And as promised, Mr. Senior Bowl. I love the title. Mr. Senior Bowl, Justin Penik. What's happening, gentlemen? Is everybody all right today?
Everything's good. Everything's great.
All right. So, I mean, look, we're live here on Tuesdays. We do this football thing called the Giants Guys. We try to talk to all sorts of different people. We've been fortunate the last couple of weeks. Like, we had on David Deal. We had on Kawika Mitchell. We had Leonard Marshall. So we're doing good with interviews. But we never have as much fun, as we do when we get the media guys on. Like, the media guys, especially the John Boy guys with Bobby and Justin, because they have a really cool perspective because they do it full time. And they're into it, probably way deeper than I am, and definitely my guys. So this is the Senior Bowl edition. It's kind of a recap. I actually asked Justin last week, and he's like, yo, I'm in Alabama. I can't hang out with you. So just totally having fun. I'm so happy you're hanging with us, Justin. I know you're jammed with a lot of different stuff, so I'm going to ask some questions and give you some softballs too.
Oh, please do. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. I feel weird that you call me a media guy. I don't know how I feel about that, but we're working. We're doing good. You're right. I'm doing it full time, and this is I'm always glad to be here. I'll always be, hey, instead of a beer, I'm on a diet. And I've recently lost I'm on 20 plus pounds that I've lost. So
good for you.
Yeah, instead of having a drink and having a brewski, I'm gonna have my 64 fluid ounces of water that I drink every day.
No, good for
Very
you.
good.
Like, to all the people that are in the show, you're a media guy. In fact, I even told the guy today, I'm like, look, if I pass on or someone passes on an article you don't like, you can't just immediately say, well, that's clickbait. We're just giving you the information.
Yeah.
And then you can decide whether you like it or not or read. Like, just because I retweet something, because I retweeted the article from Heavy, which was the ESPN information on trading Tony. I'm not saying trade Tony. I'm saying here's this piece of information, whether you want to read it or not. So you have that you're doing it every day. You're kind of considered a media person. So it's a compliment without a doubt. The nice thing is that you're doing it different and better. How about that?
Oh, I love it. Yes. So whatever we want to get to, we want to get to Senior Bowl stuff. We want to get to Wink. Whatever we want to get to, I'm here. Let's do it.
I got to go.
Let's go.
What's that, Michael?
I said, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. I'm droning on. Okay. I'm going to read you 1, 2, 3, 4 real quick notes and then help me. I'm going to start off with the QBs. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know you guys, we're in Alabama. You got some really cool, insight on what you saw. Game, exactly.
Take it or leave
it. This is kind of, and this is like really like the cliff notes. All right, so Pickett. He goes 6 for 6. However, the one throw he needed to make, he could have had a touchdown, but he underthrew the wide receiver in the seam. The wide receiver smartly goes down and gets the ball and pops back up, and he gets yards after the catch, right? Mm-hmm. If Pickett had hit him, on the fly in the seam, that might have been a touchdown. So I know he went 6 for 6, but the one throw I thought he should have made was that seam route, and he really didn't. He kind of, he basically threw it in the turf. Ritter, okay, I thought looked pretty fluid, comfortable. He definitely wanted to impress. Like, hey, look at me. Thought he made all the throws he needed to make. You can't say he had a bad day. He had a great day. I thought he stood out. Looked super athletic, looked good under pressure. Right, Willis, and I'm going to give this to you in a second, Justin. Willis, what bothered me about Willis is, and I watched all your stuff. And for all you peeps out there, make sure you go to their YouTube channel and check out, their on-site show. It's fantastic. I watched the whole thing all the way through, and it was neat. They're on site. They're breaking it down. Willis, you had mentioned all week long was just electric. Ball popping out of his hand, just, almost throwing too hard for receivers to catch. But then in the game, he just looked like Jalen Hurts. All he wanted to do was run, bail out, run. And I was disappointed in that because I was there to see. I've been critical of him because of his height, and I've been critical of him because of Liberty. I've been critical because, the competition he plays, and I get a lot of crap from a ton of people. I get it. And I don't want to, people are like, don't scout the helmet, scout the player. I got it. But in that one moment, I really wanted him to prove me wrong. Like, please let me eat crow. And it felt like all he wanted to do was run. I wanted to see his field vision. I wanted to see his accuracy. I wanted to see his command of the game. I just wanted him to do well because I don't want to see him fail.
Right.
But it just felt like, okay, that's not what I expected, right? And then Howell, I thought Howell's best play was when he was rolling out. He stiff-armed the defensive end that was trying to sack him, on that one play. So he was pretty athletic. Give me a little bit on these guys on like what jumped out at you. Let's just start with Pickett.
Yeah, Pickett was the one quarterback who I feel like he just did what he had to do during the Senior Bowl week. Now, I don't pay a lot of attention to the game, and I get why people do pay attention to the game. It's that it's something that we can all see, right? You turn on the TV and there's a Senior Bowl game. I didn't really pay that much attention to the game because I do think that the NFL coaches, when they're actually down on the football field, a lot of people leave for the Senior Bowl game too. I don't know how many people stick around. Outside of, I made the joke when we were talking before the show, outside of Dave Gettleman sticking around and watching the Senior Bowl and, maybe taking whatever happened that game a little too seriously. But it's the practices. It's the practices that really do matter, at least in the eyes of a lot of NFL people. So Pickett was the one quarterback that I feel like he just did what he had to do this week. Day one, I thought that he looked all right, and then the other day two, from what we saw, he looked pretty solid. I would say that Kenny Pickett, and this is simply from the brief stuff that I've done on quarterbacks so far, Kirk Cousins. And there's one quarterback in this quarterback class that, if we're talking just Giants, and we're just talking about from a Giants standpoint, there's only one quarterback that I would take in this draft class, and it is not Kenny Pickett. So I only see a ceiling of like Kirk Cousins for Kenny Pickett. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I think, Kirk Cousins is not a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but can he be a quarterback that can take you to that next level? Probably not. And that's how I view Kenny Pickett right now. Okay.
I like it. Cause I thought, I went Carr with Pickett only because I like the fact that he's got 4 years of experience. I like guys that what made Herbert so good is he stayed that extra year and got a whole nother year of experience. So I like his experience. Those intangibles, as you mentioned, might not be there. Okay. What about Ritter? I mean, because he looked smooth.
Yeah, during the game, he looked smooth, but day one just looked uncomfortable. Day two got a little bit better, and he was the guy he was a guy heading into the Senior Bowl that in my brain, I was like, I need to see it from you. Whereas Pickett, it was very expected of what he was going to do during practices that week. He was going to deliver good throws. The things that make certain quarterbacks have that magic and have that flair. Ritter's able to move a little bit. Howell's able to move a little bit. Willis is able to move a little bit. But the thing that makes some of these guys the magic work, you didn't really see during the Senior Bowl. So Ritter was one of those guys where you need to deliver a throw. You need to stay in the pocket. You need to be accurate. You need to show that you can deliver certain balls in certain spots throughout the field. And Ritter just didn't overtly do it for me.
So you would say he didn't make his stock go up at all?
No. I mean, maybe he didn't make it go down, but at least in my brain, he didn't make it go up for me. No.
Okay. We'll leave Willis for last because he's the most polarizing.
Let me interrupt one time before we go to going back on Pickett, right? We're talking about ceiling of a Carr, a ceiling of a Cousins. Now, if you're a team that's well-rounded enough that needs kind of a Carr or a Cousins to maybe put them over the top, because the hot rumor right now is about Kenny Pickett is Pittsburgh wants in on him. That seems to be the word.
Local boy, right, Zane? Local boy.
Yeah, local guy. They seem to be in on him. And with Mike Tomlin running the show, they're always in it. Their O-line was consistently top 10. Their defense gets the job done. Now, if you're a team like the Steelers, is he worth you coming up? Does he do it for that kind of a team as opposed to, a startup like a Jags? The Jags should never take Kenny Pickett. It would be terrible. But a team like the Steelers, is that something they should realistically be considering? Does he move the needle for them?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, Zane. And I mean I would say almost yes for them, because Pickett is a guy where you don't really want him improvising. You don't really want him moving around the pocket. And the Pittsburgh offense these last few years with Big Ben, now maybe they want to get out of this because Big Ben was old and couldn't really move himself towards his latter years. But that offense is a quick release offense. I mean, get the balls out of your hands. I mean, Big Ben last 2 years has had one of the quickest times to throw in the National Football League. I mean, especially this year, his time to throw was very, very quick. And they're also, they're mainly centered around running the ball, and really kind of just methodically moving down the field, playing the time of possession game. So if that's the route that they want to go, and if Kenny Pickett can sell them on the pre-snap processing and post-snap processing, which I feel like that's a phrase that's thrown around, and sometimes you don't even know. I don't even know how to evaluate quarterbacks fully on that. It's very tough to evaluate quarterbacks as well, because I don't even think NFL teams are very good at evaluating quarterbacks, let alone kind of us fans. So, but the Steelers does seem like a very, very good fit as, hey, you're going from Big Ben, who towards his latter years was not very mobile at all. A guy that can kind of get the ball out of his hands, doesn't have the most insane arm talent, and once in a while can take the top off. I think Pickett can absolutely do that for them. So if he's there, if they like him, why not? I like him.
And their best receiver is a slot guy, right? So you move around.
Yeah.
Johnson, right?
Think about this.
Deontay Johnson is their best guy.
It also does a lot for the fan base, right? Because think about it. They sell more number 7 jerseys in that building than they sell anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's gonna. I mean, from a business standpoint, that's gonna take a huge nosedive when he's not there, right? Here's a kid that's literally gonna walk down the street, and play in your building. Like they look at ticket sales, jersey sales, merchandise, good PR, good looking kid. I mean, he's from Jersey, he's an East Coast kid. He's used to playing in. Listen, one of the best things I heard someone say, I guess it was the guy who runs the Senior Bowl. Why am I drawing a blank on his name?
Jim Nagy.
Thank you. He's like, people, you're worried about his hand size. You're worried about all this stuff. He played in Pittsburgh. I'm like, It's cold. He's been there for 4 years. So he may be Cousins or he may be Carr, but in the right situation, Zane, I think, and you just nailed it, he may be perfect for there. Like literally do what he's supposed to, and then as he gets groomed, he could do a little bit more to elevate it. But that ceiling's not so high, but it might not have to be because all those other. Listen, if you bring a West Coast kid in to play in Pittsburgh, he might just bomb, right? Because he's not used to playing in 10 degrees. So
the best teams always start off with these QBs as game managers. Roethlisberger, Manning, Brady. Defense was winning it for him early. It's not till year 3 or 4 that they really let him open it up and become these, offensive juggernauts if they can be.
Yep.
I think Pickett fits their situation pretty well. Where he becomes worth that first round grade.
Let me ask you about Howell. Oh, go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to chime in about that because Pittsburgh's picking at 20, and I don't know. I think the most logical first spot for quarterbacks is going to be 6. I don't see anybody going any earlier than that. I could be wrong, but that's still a lot of capital to give up.
But you do it, right? If that's your guy, you go. The old adage or philosophy is if he's your guy, you go get him.
That's a lot. That's a lot to invest on a quarterback that's not really considered elite.
I know, but you know what? I get crap for this all the time, and I don't mean to sound arrogant, but history is history. I mean, the NFL will show you, regardless of everything we say, the same thing happens every year. Like one guy says, I need this guy, and I'm going to go get him, and then everybody gets antsy, and they all start moving up. It just happens because that's how hard it is to find quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
So 2020, there's no way the kid lasts to 20.
I said this the other day.
No, he won't.
In the past decade, there have been at least 2 quarterbacks taken the top 6. In the past decade.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, there you go, people. The Giants guys are dropping knowledge.
That
love it. Yeah.
includes Jake Locker, Christian Ponder, and etc. You understand?
Well, it's going to
these
be
guys
3
will
years
move the
now.
needle.
It's going to be
Exactly.
3 years now.
Which, I mean, so the Giants are in this situation where, in a good situation, might I add, where they don't have to force a quarterback this year. 2019, I almost feel like they really needed to get somebody in, or else a portion of the fan base was really going to start riding. Like, Eli's done, and he's definitely retiring this year, and we don't have an answer at quarterback after him.
Yep.
So the Giants are in this position with Jones right now. They're probably not going to pick up his 5th-year option, but he still has next year to prove, hey, should we franchise tag you? Or next year, do you have just another mediocre year, and then we look to kind of move on from you? So the Giants are in this good position where they don't need to force a quarterback draft or quarterback draft pick this upcoming season. So we don't have like a Christian Ponder, a Drew Lock kind of situation where we take a guy and I guess we're expecting him to play, but we know that he may not be that good. But again, Craig, I'm waiting for you to get to him, and I know we got to go through our guys. There's only one guy who I am in a flirtatious stage with, and I'll explain why. But I think we got to get through Howell first, right?
Yeah, and because I already watched what these guys did all week long, he's used that word flirtatious a handful of times, so I already know where he's going. You just need to hang in there and listen for yourself, because they all had some good analysis, and some of it's spot on, and some of it's really hard to wrap your brain around it, right? Because some of these mobile quarterbacks have had really great success, and some of them you're left with your, scratching your head. So, Howell, anything here at all? I don't even see Howell being a first-round pick.
Howell's biggest weakness and concern is what happens when things break down, and not necessarily his mobility, but just kind of panicking. Oh, if my first read, if my second read isn't there, then I'm going to start looking down and I'm going to start panicking and maybe make some rash decisions. And unfortunately, at the Senior Bowl, especially during the practices during the week, everything's kind of perfect for you. I mean, there's not really a lot of a pass rush. You're not really allowed to get hit. You're not getting sacked. So a guy like Howell, he has a really good arm, and people have, Baker Mayfield-esque, Baker Mayfield light. People have been calling him, and sure, I'll agree with that. Guy's a little bit mobile, but I mean, that's the main concern. And
he's
that's
another short one, right? Justin, isn't he kind of short too?
Yeah, and I think Baker's another short guy too. I think that's why people are kind of comparing him to that. But if things break down in the NFL, because things are going to break down a lot. Defenses are really, really good in the NFL, and they're going to be breaking down a lot. So you have to be able to improvise or go through your reads accordingly and have that kind of processing. Again, that little keyword. And Howell, it's to be determined on whether he has that. And also we have a couple more months to kind of sort through that and see if he has that. But that's the biggest weakness right now. And that was not able to be kind of on display at the Senior Bowl, unfortunately.
I'm going to say hello to all the guys in the room real fast. Tuto from Italy. We all know you. We love you. Thanks for jumping in. I see Danny. I see Tom. I see Jake. I see Wes. I see Emmanuel. Manny, what's happening? I see GOS. I see a bunch of you guys jumping in. Thanks, Wes. You like my hat? It is that old school. Listen, when they wore this logo, Wes, just so you know, many of you fans weren't born, but it is my favorite, Wes. And thank you for asking me about the hat. And if you guys have questions, I'm gonna get to them in a little bit. I love everything you're saying about all the guys. I thought Ritter in the game, the game, he either held his own or maybe he moved his stock up at just a tick. As you guys well have pointed out, you, Bobby, Snacks, all those guys, that he didn't look great in drills. I didn't think Howell looked great, impressive in drills. Pickett, okay, right? He almost went through the motions. I felt like he was like, I got to be here. I'll just go through the motions. I mean, 6 for 6, right? So let's get to the 800-pound, grill in the room, because here's my thing. Yes. I've been getting a lot of flack. These guys are laughing. They're all smiling back there because I get a lot of flack because I always lean back on just the history of the spot, the position, right? My first thing is that a lot of 6'1" quarterbacks, as well as Howell being 6 foot, a lot of them don't really make it, right? Not many overall. I'm not saying they don't, but overall, these 6'1" guys usually don't make it, right? Unless they're just have some intangible. You just, you got to have it, right? And then I have an issue with, and again, I'm sure ready to drop a bomb. You guys, I don't understand how you go from Auburn to Liberty with his kind of talent. He could have played at any. I don't really understand the whole Auburn dynamics. He wasn't starting, and I don't even almost care because he's good enough. No, but I mean, as a positive though, I don't care because he's talented enough to play at a whole bunch of other schools. But going to Liberty, I feel like if I took Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes and I put him at Liberty, they throw for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. And he throws for 2,800 yards, and I'm like, okay, 15 interceptions. Like, I don't – now, at the other side of the coin is that the talent's not there around him. So I get that too. What's your evaluation on a guy who wants to run before he throws? We know a lot of these guys. Look, Lamar came down to earth this year with all those massive turnovers. I mean, he was a turnover machine. It does happen. I still love Lamar. I mean, he's super wicked fun to watch, to play. Yep. And like whether he wins you a Super Bowl doesn't even matter. He'll always be a competitor and bring you a chance to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of these guys are mobile now. Like Justin Herbert's mobile. Jones is mobile. Mahomes is mobile. These guys are just real. Burrow's pretty mobile, I would think. I mean, I don't know if he's
now, Craig. I kind of know what you're talking about.
Say.
Define mobility, because there's a difference between, like, because you mentioned Daniel Jones in the same breath. Daniel Jones is very good at running in a straight line, and that's breaking out of the pocket. And Daniel Jones showed an improvement this year. I wouldn't call him really, really good, but Daniel Jones showed a very, very vast improvement from 2019 and 2020 from his pocket presence and his maybe pocket mobility. Joe Burrow is not a mobile quarterback, but he is active in the pocket. You're seeing how he's able to break away from sacks, which you've seen this play. You saw that huge on display during the playoffs. A guy breaking away from sacks, I think, during Kansas City. You saw that a few times. So
yeah, I do think mobile is that what you just said. Like mobile's not RPO. Like, I mean, like mobile to me is being able to slide up in the pocket, slide side by side in the pocket. And I mean, if you got to, run and slide, take 3 yards, fine. Athletic, is Lamar, Mahomes, even Rodgers, like guys that can take off and, actually make forward progress, make a move. Like even watching Pickett run down the field, I got crap too for that one on how he almost, when he fake slid, but he didn't slide. Like
that was awesome.
I thought so too.
He faked everybody out. That was great.
Here's my thing.
He's going to get hurt doing that.
You're right, but I won't go down the rabbit hole on that, but I will tell you this. Shame on the linebacker for not making a play. The linebacker just let up. Your job is to make sure his butt's on the ground. Mm-hmm. So give me your thoughts on Willis, because again, I'm hard on him. I want to know if a guy, like, he had a chance, just, I don't know, dude. Everyone said, man, he can throw so hard. Man, he's not accurate. No, he is accurate because he had a nice bounce back in day 2, right?
Yes.
But is he going to be a quarterback, or is he going to be Jalen Hurts? I don't think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. I just don't. It's very hard to convince me that he is. I watched him play the Giants, and it was an abomination. I was like this. Oh my goodness!
You were begging them to throw the ball, which is very rare in the NFL. Like, I was like, please continue to throw the ball, Eagles, because you're just twice more efficient when you run compared when you throw. So here, all right. So Malik Willis, just from an arm talent, again, another phrase that's said often during draft season, and sometimes I like punch myself, like I don't really like that phrase, but arm talent is much better and worlds better than Jalen Hurts, at least in my opinion. So here's what I saw from the Senior Bowl this week. What I wanted to see from Malik Willis. You mentioned a critique of Malik Willis during the Senior Bowl game that I wanted to see a throw from inside the pocket. During the week, during practice, whenever there was, whether it was 7-on-7s or they were simulating 11 on 11, he only broke containment once throughout the week. He only broke containment once. I wanted to see him stand in that pocket and make throws. I also wanted to see different velocities on the ball. You're not just a one speed fastball thrower.
Fastball.
And there were times where he delivered that fastball, and don't get me wrong, there were some balls that were going off receivers' hands right onto the ground. But also,
one of your guys said that they were looking at their hands because he was throwing it so hard.
Yeah, Football Grump was saying that. But for those throws that were also there, you also had touch throws. You also had throws that were streaks going down the field that were over the shoulder of wide receivers and in a place where cornerbacks couldn't even touch the ball, couldn't even get to the ball.
Yep.
So he showed this week that he was not just a one velocity, only fastball thrower. He showed that he had the changeup in there. And that's what he really needed to show. Something that I saw during foot drills. I didn't really get a chance to see his footwork in the pocket. I'm not a quarterback guru, but something that I watched certain other people who break down all 22 film talking about his feet and how he clicks his heels. I call it the Dorothy, no place like home. He's clicking his heels inside the pocket, which you don't want that when you're kind of dropping back. Like, let's just say if it's a 3-step drop, right? You don't want to be clicking your heels because you want to get that ball out quick. Now, he does have insane arm strength, but you want to be throwing from your base. You want the power to be coming from your legs. And the dude's huge. He's maybe not tall, but he's strong.
But he's a muscular guy, yeah.
He's a powerful dude. So you want the velocity kind of coming from the arm, especially if a play is designed for that quick 3-step drop. If your heels are close together and if your feet are close together, then you're not going to get that. But during certain drills, I saw him actively kind of thinking about, as he was doing like those, I don't know what, she was shuffling in and out, kind of going up and down, shuffle. I saw him actively like thinking about, all right, I gotta keep a good base here. I gotta keep a good base. And he was going a little bit slower compared to the other guys. I kind of like that he's not just going willy-nilly. All right, I'm going to click my heels together and just for the sake of going fast, he's thinking about kind of keeping that wide base.
Did it bother you in the game he didn't do any of it?
No. You want to know what? I kind of liked seeing that 40-yard run. Got a chance to see what he's really, really good at doing. And here's the difference between Malik Willis and all these other quarterbacks in this draft class. And the reason why I am most enticed with him, and I'll get to my flirting metaphor, I guess, in a second here. But Malik Willis can do things that no other quarterback can do in this draft class. And I don't think you draft Malik Willis for necessarily what he can do for you in the year 2022. Sure. I think you do draft him for what he can do in 2023 and beyond. And those skills do compare at the best. Those skills do compare to some of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. He is mobile. He is both mobile and he is athletic, like you talked about, Craig. He does have that pocket presence. Now, sometimes he does fade away from a play where, maybe it's unnecessary for you to be fading away or fading towards a tackle or fading back and then delivering a throw. So he does have to work on that and his, just ability in the pocket. But the ability to improvise, that's the NFL today. Yeah. The best quarterbacks in the National Football League, you see with Mahomes, Rodgers, these guys can just improvise and they can call their own plays. And it's like street ball, right? You go over here, you're pointing all your wide receivers to improvise. You go over here, you go over there, you come down here, you go long. Willis is able to extend those plays, and that's something that Daniel Jones just can't do. He can't do.
No, he can't. I fear he can't. And then we can move off QBs. But I'll say this. This is my fear.
Yes.
It's not the ability. It's not, and that it's the muscle memory of knowing how good of a runner he is. Okay, that makes me worry that instead of waiting for that double move to clear, right?
Yeah.
Right. He's already gone.
Right.
Okay, and that's my fear. Not people they get the wrong impression that I'm picking on him. I'm thinking, as you said, in 2023, when I get him a receiver, if he's got a Chase, if he's got an Odell, if he's got a Cooper Kupp, if he's got these guys, that can make double moves. Is he hanging in there long enough for a double move, or is he already gone? Yep. Because I want a quarterback that's athletic and mobile, but I want him to be able to throw the ball from behind the line of scrimmage. You know what I mean? At some point. Yep. And I just wanted to see it one time. He ran 3 times. Like you could just watch it. I'm like, oh, here it comes. Oh, he's gone. I just wanted him to say, because all week long you talked about fastball. I'm like, I don't care what he throws. throw a 15-yard pass and let me see you rip it in a window. And I didn't see that. I just see him running, and I'm like, if that's
he did, Craig, I want you to trust me. He did during the practices.
I know.
He 100% did. So there are flaws with Malik Willis, and I'm not. And this is not me advocating like I want him at 5, I want him at 7, no matter what. I think it's way too early to be like this guy, no matter what stage. And if you're there, great. But at least for my brain, my brain and my mental health is still trying to recover from this season, let alone get fully invested in the draft.
Yeah. Where does he go, Justin? Where does he go? Just give me one spot you think he goes.
Malik Willis?
Yeah.
I think it's the first quarterback off the board.
Who?
He goes top 10, maybe top 5, and I'm very serious with this.
Because to me, it should be Washington.
So you're saying 11. Craig, you're saying 11. Justin's saying possibly the Texans. He's saying top 5.
Or you have a team that trades up that really wants him.
Right.
Because the Texans and Washington, like Washington makes sense because he's a local boy. Texans just need a QB. Like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you're going to get the Saints.
Let me throw this out to you. There's going to be a semi-bidding war for Kenny Pickett between two teams that we're hearing, right? You got the Steelers, but you also got Matt Rule apparently infatuated with him. Matt Rule apparently is a fan of Pickett and wants him for Carolina. If that is true, there's a team at number 6, and there's a team that has to come up from 20. So we're sending the driver's seat no matter what in this lovely scenario that I have, right?
All right.
If one of them makes the move to 5 to make sure they get it.
All right, let's do this because we did 25 minutes on stinking QBs.
Yeah.
Most important position,
we're not,
baby.
and people.
Position.
Not for us right now.
Yeah, but we're not drafting one. So
That's right.
Stuart, you had some questions about the O-line or no?
Well, listen, I like Justin. I really they take a lot of stock in the game. I watch the one-on-one battles, trenches, and like everybody who saw this, you're probably going to say the same thing I'm saying. I fell in love with Trevor Penik. The kid has a mean streak in him. He did get beat on one play, a little quick. Edge got around him, but I think it's going to happen with him. He's got to learn better footwork. But man, he's a nasty guy. And he's one of those guys that will knock you down, he'll keep you down. He'll keep hitting you until the whistle's done. Another guy I like is a kid named out of Kentucky, the kid Darian Kennard.
Yes.
He's played both tackle and guard, and I think he might be a guard in the pro level, but we'll see. But he did pretty well too. I was surprised with his footwork. I don't know. What do you think, Justin? What do you think on those guys?
Yeah, Kennard on film, this is something that I got from Bobby. Just tremendously athletic, but sloppy during the actual games. Kind of like sloppy technique, but kind of cleaned it up at the Senior Bowl. He had a really good week. I loved seeing just the competition between the interior offensive linemen, some of the tackles too, and the edge rushers, but the interior offensive linemen and the interior defensive linemen. They had some really, really talented on both sides and on both practices, both the morning practice and the afternoon practice. There were some really, really talented guys on the interior D line, and some of those one-on-one drills are designed for the defense to be winning those battles. But some of the offensive line really hung in there. The guy from Kentucky was one of them, Kennard, and then Trevor Penik. I mean, you mentioned Trevor Penik. He was just a guy all week where even if it was like a walkthrough drill. And I think you kind of have to have this chip on your shoulder a little bit that you're coming from a small school. That, I got to come in here and I got to make some noise. And I think Trevor Penik did exactly that. Where
he did.
He was hitting people in the cafeteria.
And there were even some plays where it's like, dude, this is a walkthrough. You don't need to be going that hard. But he's just shoving dudes. But even during like the 11 on 11s, he is playing to the whistle. You hear coaches say that all the time. When I growing up and playing football, play to the whistle. He is the guy that 100% did it. And I saw some naysayers and some nitpickers saying, oh, this is holding on every play. Well, they have officials there and they're throwing flags, and they didn't throw the flag at him. So he was really dominating guys. And I can imagine, coach, how tall? That's a great question. I don't think
he's not like he looks like
he's 6'7". They say 6'7", 330.
All right, so let me ask a stupid question. Is he too tall? Is he too tall to bend when he goes up against an NFL DN? Because he's so tall and he is mean, but like sometimes you get those tall guys, they start to lunge a little bit. Is he going to be able to adapt? Like, look at Ojolari. I haven't seen a guy bend like Ojolari in a long time. I mean, he's at a 45-degree angle, the kid, which makes him good. And then in year 2, the kid's going to explode. Is he almost too tall? Because sometimes the tall guys have trouble bending.
Now, what's helpful for the Giants this upcoming draft when we're evaluating right tackles, and even some of these interior guys too. Number 1, Andrew Thomas is going to be on his island, and he's going to take care of his business. But number 2, Bobby Johnson, the new Giants offensive line coach, doesn't really believe in vertical sets. So it's basically just come out, punch, mirror, right? That's what they're kind of hopefully maybe going to be adapting this year, where maybe the tackle won't be on an island where a guard can help, because you're not going to be going back so far, vertical, those vertical sets where you're stepping back. Andrew Thomas is probably going to do his own thing on that left side, but everybody else is hopefully going to have some help. So my concern about him leaning, a guy that has a mean streak like that and who wants to pancake you every play, sure, you can have that concern, but the fact that he's 6'7", but he's also 322, and he's not a guy like Daniel Falele, take for example, right tackle from Minnesota.
370.
He's like 6'7", 387. That's a guy that I'm a little bit more concerned about leaning and kind of winding up on all fours.
And he's too heavy, and he's going to start falling.
He struggled a little bit with quicker guys. I saw that.
Yeah, but Falele out of Minnesota, I think he was a victim, and Bobby Skinner just did a film breakdown on the Talkin' Football channel. That's where we did all of our Senior Bowl recap videos, not on the Talkin' Giants channel. We did live streams on the Talkin' Giants channel, but if you want the shorter videos, Talkin' Football channel, you can go there on YouTube. So the thing with Falele, he might have been the victim of like those one-on-one pass reps at the Senior Bowl during practice that favor edge rushers and favor defensive players, where Falele, again, if he's drafted by the Giants, he's going to be one of those guys that is not really doing those vertical sets, and he is so massive, and he is quick too. You look at him, he's not fat. He's 387. He weighed in at 387 at the Senior Bowl. He looks like he's 350 pounds. He is not a guy that has a gut on him at all, but he is athletic. So I would be open to him possibly becoming a Giant, because we're not going to expect him to go on those vertical sets and be on an island by himself. That he can do a good job mirroring guys, and he's not expected to travel that far to get to some defenders.
Zane, give me something for edge rushers.
Edge rushers. Well, I mean, I obviously want to take away what Justin saw since he was there, but a couple of names I just want to bring up. We know the obvious ones, right? Tibbs, Hutchinson, etc. Those are the obvious guys.
Yeah.
Outside of that, let's talk about Kingsley Anagbare, or Anagbare, however you say his name. I don't want to butcher it. He's a very interesting prospect. He's a D lineman, not a D end, but where he's going to fit would be one thing. Myjai Sanders also jumped out big time at the bowl. And then one more name that I want to bring up is the guy that I just love the amount of violence and hatred I saw in him, Jermaine Johnson.
He's my man. He's my guy.
The violence and hatred has easily catapulted him into top 10, in my opinion, because that kind of potential people bet on immediately. So those are 3 guys I'm kind of interested in on your end that you saw.
Yeah, Jermaine Johnson was my favorite player heading into the Senior Bowl, and I'm glad he was my favorite player heading into the Senior Bowl. He was my first. If you do a Twitter advanced search on me, and if you search Jermaine Johnson and at Justin Penik, you'll see I made an announcement. Jermaine Johnson is my first gotta have it player of this draft season, and it sucks because I think he would maybe be an option for the Giants in round 2. He's definitely getting taken in round 1 right now.
Yeah.
Again, it's still too early. Like, we are literally in the beginning of February, and these draft orders and where these guys are going to be taken, I think that's going to fluctuate so much. But he had such a good Senior Bowl where it's hard not to see him going in the first round now. So yeah, Jermaine Johnson, I mean, that would be such a dream to.
I can't remember the last time, again, I saw so much violence in somebody's eyes. Like, in his eyes, you saw so much anger. And he
had a purpose this week. He had a purpose when he came that week. He sure did.
And he's not just a motor player. I mean, he has a multitude of moves. Great use of hands. He plays fast, and it's go, go, go. And that,
he showed a little counter too. He showed a little bit of counter at practice. So
yeah, what did you say, Craig?
Is he a 4-3 guy though? I kind of look at him as a 4.
No, he could play 3-4. He could play 3-4 and 4. I think he can do both.
But not on the Giants. He can't.
He can play the 3-4 with the Giants. I think he can.
But where would he play? Like,
He played the other side. He played the other side of where Ojulari plays. The opposite side.
He's 6'5", 260. So I mean, that's a solid edge rusher size. I don't think that's a, like Leonard Williams is an interior D line guy, and he would put his hands in the dirt. So 6'5", 2, being at that weight 260. He plays like a violent interior guy, right? But he does have that I think he does have that edge rusher pedigree.
I look at him like a 4-3 DN.
Right. If you look at the film, watch his film. He plays the run really well. He can even go out and pass coverage. He's a 3-down linebacker or an edge rusher, whatever you want to call him.
He ended up where he ended up because he was backing up Azeez Ojulari in Georgia, which is why he transferred. So he would have been playing this. He would have been playing the same spot as Azeez.
That's twice for you, just dropping knowledge.
What can I say?
That's why he's the man.
Yeah. All right. So Jermaine Johnson, again, like he was one of my favorite guys heading into the Senior Bowl, and he certainly did not disappoint.
If he's there at 7, not to interrupt, and you need an edge, would you pull that trigger even this early? Is he worth that kind of potential to you?
No, I wouldn't say 7. I wouldn't say 7.
Yeah.
Because we still have the combine. The combine is going to change the draft board again.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
Well,
like at this point,
go.
Yeah, at this point, I'm kind of just getting like excited about players, and then I kind of like in the back of my brain, I'll like look at, where is this guy being projected to go? And I feel really bad because it's so many guys that I like. They're like in the 2nd to 3rd round range. So it's like, well, we can't grab all these guys. You asked about Kingsley and Agbare. Yep. Again, I felt kind of smart. I don't consider myself a very good evaluator, but he was the one guy that I said to Bobby Skinner before the Senior Bowl. I was like, I don't really like him. Like, there's nothing that really pops out about Kingsley. I found that he was very sloppy. And I watched 2 games. I didn't just watch one. I watched Georgia and Tennessee both in 2021. I thought he plays high. He exposes his ribs. And I know offensive linemen, if you're exposing your ribs on some swim moves and you're going up high, I mean, there are guys that they're going to want to shoot their hands in there and kind of break your ribs a little bit. And then, even though Bobby Skinner was like, I kind of like him, I'm like, all right, we'll see how he looks in the Senior Bowl. Didn't have the best of weeks. So I think his draft stock, at least after the Senior Bowl, going down a little bit. We'll see what he does at the Combine. And then one final guy that you mentioned was who?
Sanders.
Remind me.
Myjai Sanders.
Myjai Sanders, yes. So from Cincinnati. He had the rep of the week against, we talked Daniel Falele. We talked kind of nicely about him, but
smoked him.
Sanders had this, it was almost power to speed move, where usually it's speed to power. That's like the phrase. But during one-on-one reps, Falele was the right tackle. Sanders starts a power move first, and then spins and puts this guy just on his ass. Falele, who's 387 pounds, and I have Sanders's height and weight right here. Sanders is a guy that's 6'5", 258 pounds, and he put a 387-pound man on his ass.
Yep.
That was a really, really fun rep.
It was impressive.
Draft Network gave him a Yannick Ngakoue comparison, and I kind of like that. Sanders kind of struggled against the run a little bit, but he is a quick guy that gets a solid first step. He gained an advantage and leverage with his positioning in terms of how he was able to position himself approaching a pass rushing rep. And another guy that plays hard, he sets a solid edge, and he has a multitude of moves, which, again, my kind of surface level analysis of edge rushers, I need to see multiple moves. I don't want you to just be a one-trick pony, because if you're a one-trick pony, NFL tackles, they're going to watch that film. They're going to watch that tape the week before they play you, and they're just going to be like, all right, I just have to stop this one move.
And it's a great point, because that's what Ojulari was. He was speed and bend. This year, if someone adds on, either an inside swim or something that he can adapt, he's going to be a great player. Because right now, you watch every rep he takes, it's speed, bend, and speed, bend. And then his sacks, which, by the way, 8 sacks is awesome for a rookie, right? But they come in spurts where he does nothing for 4 games and then he has 2. So there is something to be said on, can you come into the league with more than one move?
Yeah,
You know,
because
like
the idea is, Craig, I'm gonna give you a word that I know is a trigger word for you: pressure.
oh no, what's that?
Pressure. The word pressure, and not not pressures, but just
Yeah. Being
getting
around the QB.
pressure, generating pressure on the quarterback on a consistent basis, instead of just being like, great, Aziz had 8 sacks, but if you disappear for a few games,
Correct.
that's an issue. Where at least if you're getting consistent pressure on the quarterback, we know that you're there and you're being more of a consistent ball
and
player.
to get that consistent pressure, you need more than one move, right?
That's right,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm gonna one last question on DNs. I have these 2 guys, which one I like, one I don't, but I think most people have them in reverse. Like is Ajabo, right? And Karlaftis.
Yeah.
I like Ojabo, but I don't like him in 2022. I like Ojabo in 2023. He just doesn't have enough surface. I mean, he's played like 19 games. Like he just doesn't have the experience I'm looking. What are you doing? Building a house over there, Stuart?
I'm getting my notes all set up. That's
All right. That sounds like you're banging nails over there. I'm like, what are you building something? I want to like Ajabu, right? I remember, and this is, I'm going to date myself here for a second, but Stuart will know what I'm talking about. Early on, when Strahan was a young guy, he had this guy on the other side of him named Chad Bratsky. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah. It's a blast in the past, but Chad Bratsky had this one year, and I can look it up. I don't want to bore you with, but Chad Bratsky had this like all-world year for a nobody defensive end, right? Because he had Strahan on the other side. Well, with Hutch on one side, of course, Ojabo is going to have a good year, right? When they double him or if they bring a tight end in or they chip him, right? I think he's talented, but he just doesn't have the snaps. You know what I mean? I want him to have more experience, where Karlaftis is probably not as talented athletically as Ojabo. I love the fact, 2 things, is that he's played like, I don't know, I think it was like 49 games or something like that. Like he's got the experience, and I'm infatuated with the fact that he is literally Ryan Kerrigan reborn, because they're both Purdue guys. Like, when I look at the size of them, that, the hand strength, the hand play, the hand placement, right? Like it just feels like Ryan Kerrigan died and was reborn as Karlaftis. Both Purdue guys. And I'm like, to me, if you told me I can get 10 years of Ryan Kerrigan, I'd sign up for it in a heartbeat, So like where Ajabu to me is like, okay, well, he could be OCU Manura, but he just hasn't played the game enough. Like that was my problem with Haskins. If Haskins had stayed in school another year, it's just about snaps for me. I'm always consistent with like great talent becomes fantastic talent when they're mature enough. And I know Ajabu's going to go probably, maybe the end of the first round, maybe early second round, but I like Karlaftis. I was wondering if you like those 2 guys.
Yeah, Karlaftis is somebody who Bobby Skinner picked actually in a mid-season mock draft. He was one of the 2 first-round picks. I think the other guy was Neil, who, Neil probably doesn't make it to 5, now. But, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with people trading up for quarterbacks. I saw a mock draft recently that had Charles Cross going number 1. Who knows what these NFL GMs are thinking right now? And I think this is a draft where really there's no consensus like this is the number 1 player in the draft. And that's what I find to be kind of fun about this year. Craig, I'm only on Senior Bowl guys right now. So, but here's what I will say. We can even bring Wink Martindale into the mix here.
Yeah, that was where I was going next.
I don't know. Okay, so yesterday, Patrick Graham, or 2 days ago, whenever Patrick Graham was defense coordinator for this team, I'm thinking to myself, we have to get an edge rusher. We have to get a top-tier edge rusher. You see all the top-tier edge rushers in the National Football League right now, they're taking like top half of the first round. Yep. And that's where they're coming from. And I'm a guy that likes to look at trends and where do guys come from and, getting value and overpaying for these edge rushers that are free agents. That's just not the way to go. We did it with Olivier Vernon. We paid JPP. He blew off half his hand. You know
how much that makes me crazy with the Vernon thing.
Yeah. So I don't think that's the way to go anymore, where you got to draft these guys and you got to hit. And then if you can have them stay in town and if they're good, then they stay. And I think there's a reason why big edge rushers hit the open market is because their teams are okay with letting them walk.
Yep.
That's the
spent.
thing. So keep your guys in house. I was all for with Patrick Graham taking an edge rusher, but now I'm almost rethinking it and looking at what Wink Martindale has been able to do with a lot of these like second, third round edge rushers that we've taken in the past, by the way. Giants have taken, like with the Zoe Carter, O'Shane Zimenez, Ellerson Smith. Aziz was really the first big investment in the edge room that Dave Gettleman had, which is
we
crazy.
Know we should have been a first rounder.
Which is which is crazy to think about with Dave Gettleman, that I think he prioritizes pass rush, but he didn't make any real investment besides Aziz. So I'm now rethinking Wink Martindale is going to draw up these elaborate blitz packages. I trust that the Giants will be able to find athletes because there's a lot of good edge rushers that were at the Senior Bowl. A lot of guys that we didn't even talk about. Arnold Ebiketie could possibly be a second-round pick. Tyreek Smith could be there on day 2. We already talked about Jermaine Johnson, Jesse Luketa, D'Angelo Malone from Western Kentucky was probably the biggest surprise player at the Senior Bowl from the edge class.
Hold that thought, though.
Yes, from Minnesota.
Hold that thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my first question is, before we go down, before we get, into the weeds, why is Wink coming to the Giants, in your opinion? Because again, like I'm don't get me wrong, I love it. Why is he coming? And I wrote it down because the personnel we have right now, I know it's going to change, but the personnel we have right now is a bend don't break defense, which is completely opposite of Wink and his let the dogs eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, like we laugh all the time. Like my website, NY Giants Rush, is called that because of the rush. I mean, it's put 4 trophies in the case from LT all the way up to, Justin Tuck. So I want it too, but to your point is, or my point, which is kind of bouncing off your point, is, do we have the personnel that Wink wants? Because he wants, like I said, vertical, get upfield, go. Let the dogs eat. Where we were playing all back 9, 8, Russian 2, 8 DBs, you know what I mean? And do we have why did he come? Because it's a lateral position. Mm-hmm. Why did he come? Unless he becomes an assistant head coach and Dable has a veteran to lean on, is kind of what I was thinking. But why did he come, in your opinion? And do we have the personnel to run a Wink defense?
Yeah, so the personnel thing is the thing that's circling through my brain. Why did he come to the Giants? Kind of just quickly from what I know and what I heard, it was a mutual parting of ways in Baltimore. I think it was. I really do think it was mutual. So I've been kind of, I don't know if you noticed, Craig. I did kind of break the Wink Martindale has the Zoom interview with the Giants.
I didn't want to just I didn't want to give it to you in case I was wrong. I figured I'd let you, let it go.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a great job.
So I did hear it was very mutual. That was something that I actually asked today because I was like, oh really? I thought Wink either wanted to leave or Harbaugh wanted to leave. So it was mutual. The thing that I just picked up from scrolling on Twitter, not something that I heard. I think Wink was very comfortable in Baltimore. He wanted a multi-year extension as defense coordinator. The Ravens only wanted to give him 1 year. And he didn't want to be on that 1 year extension, so he left.
That's what was reported, I believe, last week too, that they couldn't work on extension terms. Where the Ravens said, "Listen, we got a year for you," and he said, "All right, I'm out."
Yeah, as I think
Zane, you read that too.
Yep,
Zane.
Because a lot of people, even this guy who's a beat writer that I can't stand for the Giants, tweeted that he was fired, and I let him know that he wasn't because he should know his job. Pat Leonard. So he wasn't fired. It was thanks. I had a cough thing going on. It was a mutual breakup, and even the Ravens reported it that it was just like Justin said, it was a 1 year extension. He didn't want a 1 year. They couldn't come to terms on money, and they couldn't come to terms on years.
Giants gave him 3.
3 solid years, big pickup, 3 years, and we don't know any of the contract terms money wise just yet for any of the hires.
Yeah, I looked for it all day today. There was nothing.
They haven't even released Shane or anybody else. We don't know money, but we know it's 3 years.
So he didn't want to really move far because he has grandkids. And again, this is what I got a text message of. He didn't want to go far. He has grandkids. He has family here, and he has a chip on his shoulder.
Here, you mean like East Coast or
East
Jersey?
Coast, I'm presuming.
Okay.
Yeah, East Coast. So and what I did also hear is that he has a chip on his shoulder, which I love. He's got that chip on his shoulder. I have a feeling he kind of wants to stick it to Baltimore of like, you didn't give me that multi-year contract extension.
Yeah,
watch what I do over here. So this is where the personnel comes in.
Guess who plays the AFC North this year?
Oh, that's true. That's so true.
Zane, you guys start dropping.
He's playing the Ravens. It's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a good game.
Do you know on the top of your head? Are we playing in Baltimore?
Oh, I don't know that. I don't know if it's
all right.
Yet.
Come on, Zane.
Sorry, man. I dropped the ball. Sorry.
Come on, Zane. Stop teasing us.
Sorry.
We'll have to look that up. But the whole personnel thing, Craig, it's so interesting because, like I said, with Graham, I'm like, Patrick Graham needs that top-tier edge rusher because this bend but don't break, it doesn't really scare anybody, but it keeps you in games. Like, I want a defense that does more than just keep you in games. Like, let's strive for more. So, edge rusher was like
predictable.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Like because the offenses know you're not coming.
Yeah, and that was also a personnel issue for Graham. I don't put that solely on Graham. I think Graham wanted to run a blitz. I think he wanted to run a very blitz heavy scheme this year.
Didn't have the dogs.
Week 1 against the Broncos, we had an over 40% blitz rate. Zane, you're saying timeout.
Here's my only thing with Patrick Graham, right? About what he wanted. This will upset me so much. He said himself how badly he wanted to run man. I want to run man so badly. He said it. So what did the Giants do? They go out and they get Adoree Jackson. Now you got 2 man corners that you asked for, James Bradbury and Adoree Jackson. You get your man coverage on the outside, and yet still incessantly play zone. Why? Because he doesn't have that edge rusher, and you can't dial it up to get to the QB. And that was my issue. You can't keep screaming, I'm going to play man. Go get the man corners and then still play zone.
So Danny breaks. He goes. He gives me 2. There's 2 comments here. It says, hate to break it to you, but we play the AFC South. So I was about to give you some static, which we do play the AFC South. But guess what? We have the 17th game this year, and it's the Ravens at home.
That's the game. Oh, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. I apologize. They are one of the games, and it's at home. I was
about to give you some smack, and then I was like, nope. Danny came in and bailed you out.
So Zane, you're exactly right. Graham wanted to do it. That's why we signed Adoree Jackson. That's why we drafted Aaron Robinson. Even Rodarius Williams, which you never expect anything out of a 5th-round pick. Rodarius Williams drafted as this man coverage corner and came in and kind of played well before he tore his ACL. So yes, that was the setup and that was the thought. But if, like Craig said, if you don't have the dogs up front to get home, which nobody was getting home, week 1 against the Broncos, the Giants had the highest blitz rate in the National Football League out of all teams. Teddy Bridgewater still had over 3 seconds time to throw in the pocket. And I think Graham viewed that and, hey, I'm blitzing. None of these guys are getting – they're not even getting pressure on the quarterback. The quarterback still has a clean pocket. I can't be putting my secondary guys on an island because you also have to think about this. This brings us into what did the Giants do this offseason? James Bradbury is not the best man coverage corner. I think he is a very, very good zone coverage corner. I think he is very, very good at covering the men in his zone, not just covering a zone of the field and not just covering grass, but he is so instinctual in man coverage, but in zone coverage. Whenever you saw James Bradbury getting beat this year, it was when he was trailing somebody on crossing routes.
You read my mind. I was going to say over his head in a vertical route, he's not great. He's always chasing people. Anything in front of him, it almost reminds me of Corey Webster that way. Corey Webster played everything great in front of him, but anything that was stop and go, you know what I mean? Like any sluggo routes, anything that was vertical on him, he got beat.
Yeah. So that's why, even though I love James Bradbury, I really do love him. I think that there's a good chance that he's not here come next year. So Wink Martindale relies on 2 things. He relies on his pass rushers getting home, which do the Giants have that? Or can he manufacture that? And can we get away with maybe not taking an edge rusher round 1 and maybe taking some athletes in round 2 and 3, like we've been talking about, like at the Senior Bowl, there's a lot of good guys. And Joe Shane does like his Senior Bowl guys. And number 2, if the Giants move on from James Bradbury, do we have the corners to play press man? Can Aaron Robinson possibly make a transition to outside? Can Rodarius Williams recover? Can Adoree Jackson be a cornerback one? Or do we draft somebody?
Don't forget Holmes. Don't forget Holmes.
And again, Holmes is a guy that I don't. He's a smaller guy, smaller stature guy.
I don't see him on the outside.
Where he's not a very physical guy. Where I think he will get kind of beat,
right?
And even Aaron Robinson was brought in to supplement Holmes more or less. They overdrafted on the slot, even though he's a physical guy. He can play the outside, but he's better suited for that slot.
Right. So exactly. So Aaron Robinson, he could be in the slot, but then again, if James Bradbury's moved on, well, then what happens to CB1/CB2? And that's the predicament that you put yourself into if James Bradbury is moved on.
Well, you know, big moves got to come because the cap is just it's
filthy.
He wants a clean cap. Filthy. I always call the cap voodoo, but somebody's going. All right.
Last thing on Wink real quick about that whole thing about cornerbacks. Yep, he needs cornerbacks, and the reason I guess he doesn't care as much about edge rushers is if you look at his blitz, who blitzes the most, it's literally all 4 linebackers spots and then the strong safety. Those are his top 5 blitzers.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Real quick, I don't want to. Do you guys want to ask questions about anything else, coaching wise? Because we talked. Give me a 30-second, Justin, on new tight end coach, new wide receiver coach.
Oh gosh, new tight end coach. Not a lot on these guys, which is actually different from the Joe Judge coaching staff. Worked with Mark Andrews, was the assistant tight ends coach with the Baltimore Ravens. So you can kind of be like, hey, this guy worked with Mark Andrews. And there was a little while where the Baltimore Ravens tight end room, you basically plucked anyone out of there and they were productive, right? So that's a lot of pro experience. So that's what I'll give you on both of these guys. And basically almost the entire coaching staff as a whole that kind of Brian Dable's putting together versus Joe Judge. Joe Judge, a lot of college guys. And we were saying at the time, like, yeah, this may be good relating to the players, but this is a staff. And you heard Joe Shane say it in his introductory press conference too, and Brian Dable might have referenced it too. We want guys that have worked in the NFL, that are pro coaches, and that's what these guys are. So there you go. That's not a lot of information on their out there besides just their basic resumes.
Today's his birthday, by the way. Today's his birthday.
Who?
Andy Biscoff. Today's his birthday.
Happy birthday!
Oh, happy birthday! If he ever sees this,
he's the tight end coach, right?
Yeah, he's a tight end coach.
All right. So, how do you, Michael? How do I pronounce his last name?
I think it's Biscoff, isn't it?
All right. There is a YouTube video that it's floating around there on Biscoff. Okay, when he was with the Texans, it's roughly 2 minutes. I recommend you watch it because you're going to be foaming at the mouth because he talks about his tight end room on how he has to have one guy that can do everything, one guy that can block, and one guy that can catch passes. Like he's telling you that I can't remember the word he used. It was a buzzword but it was a good one. Like it got me going. He was like talking about basically he needs to make sure the defense is at a disadvantage when his tight ends are on the field.
Yeah.
And I really like, again, if you get a chance, hit it up on YouTube. You can probably find it on Twitter too, Biscoff. It's a 2-minute press conference, probably post-game, for a Texas game. Do yourself a favor, check it out because it literally got my juices flowing, especially how good the tight ends are this year. We don't have enough time to talk tight ends. We could, bring Justin back and go.
McBride from Colorado State, Jake Ferguson are the two guys that
we know about McBride.
Okay. So, Justin.
That's Craig's guy right there. Ferguson's Craig's guy.
Michael Stewart will tell you. Okay, so like tight ends, my jam. Like I'm because I'm the guy who wants, Bavaro and Shockey and those guys. Michael Stewart, who was I pining away for last year?
The kid from Penn State, right? Or was it Notre Dame guy?
I wanted Freiermuth so bad.
Freiermuth, yeah.
I wanted Freiermuth so bad. I was just like, you will be rewarded. Find a way to get Freiermuth. And then he was there, like in like the second round, and they passed him again. I was like, no. Well, these group of tight ends has got me so jazzed.
It's a nice group this year. Nice group.
the reason why I'm jazzed is I'm not doing the old wishful thinking. Second pick in the third round, you're going to get the next, Fuller, Ertz, Andrews, like first of all, McBride.
Chad Hutton.
Yeah, all of them can do something. I mean, except for McBride is completely different. McBride is like Ingram, but can do what Ingram never could do. Look at what he did in the Senior Bowl.
He might go first round
backfield. Yeah, like they literally had him in the backfield, ran motion, kind of faked the chip block, slid out wide open, yards after the catch. I was thoroughly shocked how good Ferguson was with yards after the catch. I'm like, this guy's got yak in him. Look at him, and he's a big dude. I'm jazzed, completely jazzed about this tight end group. You will see a grown man cry if the Giants don't draft a tight end in the third round with the second pick, because they're just too good to let go. Those guys won't be there. The days of the 49ers drafting Kittle in the fifth round, even though they had a third ground rate on him and he drops the fifth. It's not going to happen because everybody wants the next Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz. Well, there's 5 of them this year. 5.
Yeah.
Or am I crazy for saying that?
No. I mean, the two guys that I'm most high on are Ferguson and McBride, 100%. And if the Giants find themselves possibly trading down from 5 and 7, I mean, that Trey McBride is a bang on the table kind of guy to get. So I'm with you. Where hopefully the Giants are moving on from Rudolph. I am not interested in Evan Ingram being back. No. So I mean. No. If
we have no tight ends. If
we're in a world where Caden Smith is tight end 1 heading into the year, I'm okay with it. But
because he's a blocker.
Let's also get a guy that we can also be excited about for the future at tight end. And I think really, even if it is a guy that's coming from like the 3rd, 4th round, there are a lot of guys in this draft class where I'm like, yeah, cool, let's rock and roll.
Well, yeah, the kid from Ohio State,
Rucker.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten a little friendly with Jake Ballard over the last year. I mean, Jake Ballard caught like 40 passes at Ohio State and then had a absolutely stunning year in 2011, right? I mean, just, no one knew he had such soft hands. Rucker reminds me of the same guy. Like, he doesn't catch a whole lot of balls, but he just may need to get more targets. You know what I mean?
They don't use a tight end in Ohio State. They're like another lineman. So, you're going to get a blocker if you get a kid out of Ohio State, tight ends.
Yeah.
All right, let's have some fun because I know you don't want to hang out with us all night. And by the way, thanks for coming on. I mean, I always appreciate when I can get you, Bobby, and your crew to come on. We always love what you guys do at Talking Giants. All right, so this is the speed round. Super fun. I love doing this. Zane, I didn't mean to cut. Zane, you got any last things you want to throw out there? I don't want to leave you hanging.
No, it's all right. I sprinkled
enough in there.
Sprinkle. I mean, my only thing would be now. I'll throw one thing. Then this is just opinion, right? We're having coaching turnover, retired, not being retained. Running backs coach. What's going to happen there? I'm not expecting a name, but who are we looking for? Because I think Burns is retiring. I don't know if his contract's up or retiring. I believe he's retiring. So you need a new running back coach, and we need some influx in that position anyway. What kind of candidate are we looking for here?
Tiki Barber.
I was going to say, I kind of
wouldn't mind that at all.
I kind of want a younger guy in there. I really do, because whatever. I actually was pretty critical of Burton Burns, and it's so tough with position coaches because we're not in the building. We don't know what these guys are communicating, but clearly, there was a drop off in how Saquon Barkley played the game of football, and I think it was part physical, but it also was mostly mental. Yeah. And Burton Burns not being able to really tap into that mental side of the game for Saquon Barkley.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
I get it. Wayne Gallman was good. He was efficient. They did good things in 2020. But, I mean, 2021, like Devontae Booker should not be on the same level of efficiency and running level as Saquon Barkley. And that's what it was, unfortunately. So I want a running back coach that if there's one position where I'm like, I want a guy that can relate to the players and kind of talk like a player and talk with these guys, it is running backs coach, because, if Saquon Barkley is on the team next year, we need somebody to tap into his brain, not just his body.
Yeah, absolutely. And they
Oh,
made
good
a
point,
huge
Justin.
offer. They made a huge offer to a coach who turned it down to go to Notre Dame. I forgot his name. They made a huge offer to a running backs coach, but he turned it down for Notre Dame.
Okay.
Well, maybe it's alma mater. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the reason why some of these guys like to coach. There's a Bain is in the Bain wanted to know about Julius Randle, but I got Giant Opinion Sports, right? So he has here. I'll put it up on the screen just for laughter because this is kind of what my day was today. It says, Commanders with the the cracking up face. And so I was in DC today, right? I was in right outside of Maryland with a client, and he said, "What's the rest of?" He's like, "You're from New Jersey, right? You cover the Giants," and he's like, "What's the rest of the league think?" I go, "I think we're all kind of laughing." I'm like, because the first thing is like people are saying is one is they're calling them commies, but two they're going commando. They're like literally the joke is how many people are showing up to the stadium wearing no underwear. I mean, like it's like. Why would they name themselves that? So the one of the they were saying like people really didn't in the region while they don't like Snyder, they weren't offended by the name. They took it as a cool warrior name that was naming their team. It wasn't anything detrimental. And I said to her, look, if they really were smart about it, they come up 2 years with Commanders. Hogs is what they're known for. They should have went with Razorbacks because that is a hog. That's and true. If you go with Razorbacks, what do? You get to keep the R for Redskin. So, hello, I could have gave him that in 15 minutes, not 2 years. So, yeah.
Is there trademark rights with that? Because that's Arkansas, obviously.
Yeah, but I can't think they own the name Razorback.
Okay.
Listen, the Boston College is the Eagles, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure there's Falcons out there. I'm sure there's Colorado's the Rams, aren't they?
Yeah, Colorado State. Yeah.
That's true.
So McBride, right? McBride's a Ram. All right. Speed round for you, Justin, and then I'll let you go. So again, I know you got plenty of other things to do to hang out with us. All right, here we go. Your pick, first round, edge or O-line? Where do you go?
Edge.
Okay, the player you bring back from the Wayback Machine, Bradshaw, Plax, or Toomer? You get to bring one of them back.
Toomer would fit Dable's system.
Love it. See, I always knew he's a thinker. That's why I asked him that question. Normally, everybody goes, of course, Plax. I knew he would put some thought into it, so I love it. All right. Win with an overtime field goal or Hail Mary?
Hail Mary.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It. Who is number 80? McConkey, Shockey, or Cruz?
McConkey being so upset that he didn't score that touchdown in Super Bowl 21 is one of my favorite things ever. So I'm going to go McConkey. Why not?
All right. So you're going. I love it. All right, so 80 is McConkey. All right, free agent you wish had stayed.
Oh. Is this just in general or recent?
Anything you want, as long as it's Giants related.
Steve Smith with the Giants. Wish he stayed.
You remember, that was tough, though, because he had the knee injury and never really came back, so...
He had 100-plus catch season in 2009, and then he left.
This is Justin's picks, right?
I like it. Okay.
I have a fascination with him.
Yeah. No, I got. By the way, Justin, somewhere on my old computer, I interviewed him in 2011.
That's awesome.
And he was such a gentle soul, laid back dude. It was cool. All right. One player in 2022 you have to have back. Blake, Ryan, Bradbury, Peppers.
Blake.
Love it. See, we're more alike than you think, my friend. Okay. Jones or draft pick in 2023?
We're in 2022. Draft pick.
All right. One jersey you get to retire. Who is it?
One jersey I get to retire. Eli was just retired. This is, you know what? OC Umanura was my favorite player growing up. OC Umanura.
All right. Like it. All right. Last one. I know you're not drinking because you're doing the diet.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't think you drink anyway, do you? I don't think.
No, I don't. I'm a cigar guy, and
Yes.
good for me. Cigars don't make me gain weight.
Yes, because I've been at a bar with you with Spiro and Jeff, and I remember you telling me. All right, so, but in this, humor me in this one.
Yes.
You're in a bar fight.
Sure.
What giant do you want sitting next to you to get your back?
I feel like the easy answer is Brandon Jacobs. It's just the easy answer. Absolutely.
I always go with Keith Hamilton, the Hammer, because
That's a good one.
because that dude was so scary just to look at you, be like, I'm done, I'm out.
I'm gonna go a little bit recent. I'm gonna say Nick Gates.
Yes, he commented on my Instagram post tonight,
Oh,
which is fun. I posted a picture of me from 2011. I was taking a picture with the Hooters girl, and I had a Nebraska Cornhuskers tank top on, and he's like, "I see that shirt." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Nick."
You think he comes back?
You know what? Because we're Nick Gates fans. We're Nick Gates fans, and he tweeted out, "Talking Giants versus the world." He's going to come back stronger than ever. I have to be the fanboy there.
yeah.
I hope so, man, because
so.
he's had so, he's got a major setback. So it's like, I hope, I mean, everybody's rooting for him, but I didn't know if you had any
and guess what? Opinion. He was really, really good at guard, and we need guards. He was actually really
he's like good at everything that they asked him to do. He was good at tackle. He was good at tackle in 2019. He was good at everything they asked him to do.
I'm upset. You know why I'm upset? Because he got hurt playing guard, not center. If they didn't move him to guard that day, if they don't move him to guard that day, the question is, does he get hurt if he's not playing guard?
I blame Billy Price.
Yeah. I blame Billy Price.
We all blame Billy Price.
Right. Thanks, Sam, GOS, Bain, Mark Thompson. I'm sorry. Offered. The offer to Notre Dame. So Mark from the Bahamas or somewhere out in the Caribbean. Thanks for checking in. We got tons of guys in here. You're listening to another episode of the Giants Guy. Justin, love to have you back. I know you're a busy man, but we appreciate the insight. Make sure you check out the Talking Giants guys. I know you guys all out there listen to them. I get your scraps, which I'm okay with, by the way. They're friends of the show. We love listening to these guys. Bobby, Snacks, the whole Grump, all those guys. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to another episode of Giants Guys, nygiantsrush.com. Thursday, people. Big draft show. Okay, NY Giants Draft Rush Show with Michael Stewart, The Truth, and Spartan Mike. Bring your questions for those guys. They talk, I don't even know. They go on for long, like hour at least, talking about the draft and truth or false and hot and not hot. So if you're a draft junkie, and I know there's a lot of you are draft junkies, Stewart's the guy. It's why we call him The Truth. Tune in on Thursday. We're OUT out.